다 이진 누르부대 군대 배가 기 돌아 벤지르 상겐로 바샤 상게 최동 서기 전남라 장주 버도다니 겹순제 라게 진소기 배촌음기 돌아 벤지르 상겐로 바샤 심진 담제 대와 당 대외 규당 덴바라 Simjen Damje Dungal Dang Dungal Gi Gyudang Tawar Simjen Damje Dungal Mebe Dewa Mindawa Gyurji Simjen Dam Nirin Chadang Nidang Taw Panyamla Nepara Gyurji Simjen Dam Dewa Na Devi Gyudang Dembara Gyurji Simjen Damje Dungal Dang Dungal Gi Gyudang Tawar Simjen Damje Dungan Be Dewa Tam Mindawa Simjen Damje Nirin Chadang Nidan Drak Tanyam La Nepara Gyurji Sajibeji Chuji Mendo Tam Jiro Linji Sangye Jindu Midembu Rukunanda Jinla Chubajo Idang Guru Rana Mendala Kaniyata Amin.
Until enlightenment, I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the accumulation of the practices of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Until enlightenment, I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the accumulation of the practices of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Until enlightenment, I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the accumulation of the practices of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings be endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be freed from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. May all sentient beings be endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. May all sentient beings be endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. This ground spread with incense, adorned with strewn flowers, Mount Meru, the 4 continents, and the sun and moon. I imagine as a Buddha land, and by offering it to you, may all living beings enjoy this pure land. Thus, meeting the teaching of this peerless teacher is due to the spiritual mentor's kindness. I dedicate this virtue for all living beings to be cared for by excellent spiritual friends. Hiram Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniratya Yami.
로제 전전 딜레 노로 통 뭐가 맨날 뭐 터서 봐 너봉 빠단 빠단 줘 그 유나마 자자로 야 다들인 세 중대 그 유비선 주 차려서 와. 다 지금 밀라제베도 지금 걸로 아니 라제 수남진진 시다 님에 따볼라지 봐. 수남진진 공 잠자고 된주 차려서
And so this Anidine Lagi Sonam Rinchen.
또 수남진진
The Dakpa.
예 따볼라지 비선래.
And so the text that we'll begin our studying on tonight is actually a text that is within the Kagyu system of texts. And this is written by one of the students of the great Milarepa. And his name, the student of Milarepa, was Lage Sonam Rinchen.
조진이 녀메 따볼라지바 당보 가담비 중 퇴섬 할레베진제네 가담비 그 시지 차디어레스 엔 치수 밀라제베도 지단 진제네 아니 가자 추지든 집에다 중자 전부 시지 차디어레스.
And so, first, the author of this text, Lage Sonam Rinchen, first was a practitioner within the Kadampa system of Buddhism, a student and a practitioner who studied well, and then went on to study with the great master Milarepa. And so this was what preceded the composition, and Geshe-la was holding up this book. This is what preceded his writing this great text.
근데 니가라다 녀메 따볼라지베 남타르 뒤디시나 하고 제법에 루기 뒤디시나 담보 녀메 따볼라지바 멤방 개발했어. 김반한 거래. 멤버 해봤지. 아니 세지다 세무지. 아니 잠진이 열했어.
세모당.
세. 부지다 pomo지 있지. 아니 김에.
숨바.
다 김장나 고난 개면지지. 아니 세세모 인중을 했어.
And so first, if we just go briefly into the history or the life story of the composer of this text. So first, he was a great physician. He was a great and accomplished physician. He had a wife, and he had a daughter. And he had two children.
Then I am just Shiraka insan tape dusini pe Konran area like pe Kerachimodan. And I'm G the Jotin Milunisanaji, I'm Jikin Jotin Zeres.
And so so he actually gained great renown as someone who had mastered this field of medicine, this field of healing the physical body. He was a great physician. He was very well renowned, very famous.
Tini tamadela seda semoni nyung, ani strong, ani de tamadela, ani kemende nyungche, nyungji guni mandan chene. 아니 도스치디가 아니 타마스놈 진짜 다 니메타볼라지 콘랑가 송레스 다 키나 카렌 도스 다니 키나라 저답균 민도스 네 라바이게 맹강가테 아니 키나 저답 민도 다 자신 키랑 네 더도는 도스 나네 네 차 시발라 차인데 와에 카렌 도스데 게멘들 어디 숭으래
모랑 아니
모랑 나디어 와 냠 타볼라지비 게멘들에
라소
나된 도스 아니 나다 개케민도스 나 캐널 차거도스 게멘데게 게멘데 지는 드마게 넘주 차대요래 아니 그 땅아 마네베 신에 다 제 펜바zo zo바다 아니 그런 랍도 중나 나 단다 시초저래 샤스 아니 때마다 저러 양 코로라 콘데나 디 용가 시투자 말해서 소래 개면되게 아니 님에 따볼라제베 맞다 그런 배 진디 내 좀차도 스제 맹게 수금인도 다 그런 디체 그냥 깔라바당에 남자 장만지게 알아도 중국 인사 켈레나레스.
And so then his wife became sick, and although there were attempts to heal her, she couldn't recover from the sickness. The wife also then, as she lay very sick on her, deathbed, she was ready to die. And ani droma ki
드미남 주리.
morang.
뭐랑.
And she was an emanation of Tara. And as she was dying, she said, there is no way to free yourself. There's no way, want to be free from this cycle of existence, this ordinary samsaric existence. And to free yourself from this, he said, I will do whatever it is that you say. And she said, it would be best if you wish to be free from cyclic existence if you will take ordination once I pass. Do not, go with another. Continue in this worldly way, but please, to become a monk and take the vows of ordination. And he said, I will take the vow and I will pledge to do as you have asked.
데니다 굴다데 징라 패다 아니 코란 아니 코로발레 녜브런 중에 랍도 중에 아니 가담베 그시 누num로 소바텐데 그시 망보 텐데니 가담베 베 그시 침복규레스.
And so his wife passed away. His children, di bunyi yang ani
징라 패사 분야 아메 부더 부모냐 아메 승을 종소래.
And they actually all died at about the same time. His children and his wife, he lost them all at that time. And so after they all died, then he did exactly as he had pledged, and he did. He became ordained, and he began to study and practice within the Kadampa lineage of teachings, became a successful practitioner.
데니다 베 퇴섬 까침보지데 베 디지디가라 니마치 아니 공 답하게 곰견에 주네니 구당이네 아니 철도 참참 루디가라 아니 미 장보숨 깨지시 거레스 아니 장보숨 깨지시 인디가라 땅아서 베 항상 고지나 밀레바 항상 거레스 밀레바 세인데 베 초아도 컨돔이 불대니 베 슌르리레 체 아니 담비 취지 덴디체네 곰견에 냠도 귤레 퉁데게 다 덴디기 밀레바 존리진다 덴디 그 강조나 요 말다 때줄라 항상 거래세데 이 장부숨 때까지 시거래스 밀라레베 센터다 아니 냐메 타볼라제베 니베 툴라디 시부지 때바퉁제 아니 밀라제베도제 니베 제제당 두시네 타마 밀라제베도제데 테바레스.
And so he was a great practitioner, devoted to hearing and contemplating. And he was meditating one day and was outside and went for a little stroll. And he ran into like 3 wandering mendicants who then began to speak of the great yogi Milarepa and to speak of Milarepa's extensive practice, his complete devotion to his practice, that he remained solely in practice and no other activities, and said, this is really quite amazing. There's this amazing practitioner devoted completely to nothing but practice. His name is the great Milarepa. And Gampopa, or Lage Sonam Rinchen, Gampopa, simply hearing the name Milarepa, this great practitioners that these three wanderers told him about, great faith arose simply from hearing, his name. Transformation occurred in his mind, and this deep faith arose, and he thought, I need to meet this great Milarepa.
Tene pe to chola milare ba to cho tingri chola jure to tingri zersa to tingri zersa area te ba jures ani ngemela bo tabola ba tini pe ani misanji nan ani mila jebe to je kaba jures digala ani ta milare ba ta konsu minsante minje jebe to je kingore ani mila jebe to je ke keran legi ba kensar dos 다 그런 클라스 니 르르제 아니 그런 저거 야선에 아니 밀레제베도 진짜로 저는 디그레스 두스네 아니 미산적이 코너를 zelap을 텐디 중으로스 간젤 밀레제베도 이 냐메타볼라제 폐기와 하고 손레스 캔서레스
Who suke his
밀라라
Oh, lasso. Oh. Mila di dakpo. Dakpo.
타볼라제 폐기와 캔바레스
Oh, lasso. And so he heard that Milarepa was staying in this area, Dipur, Tingri Dipurgi, Sacha.
너 벽이 사자 띵리스다
And
다투 야가르 촐라레 눕초 자거다
oh, lasso. And so in the western area of Tibet and near the border of India, he heard,
네팔도 사슴 자거다
Payo.
사슴 고랑잖아
The actual,
초디 야가르 초차로
oh, lasso. Actually, so this is at the borderline of Nepal in the western area, like the western boundary in an area of Tibet called Tingri, that this is where Milarepa was. And so he went there, and he was going along the way to the area where he'd heard that this great practitioner Milarepa was staying. And he came upon a family, and he asked a question. He said, "Do you know where the one who is called Milarepa stays?" And the family, they said, "We do indeed. We know of him. We know where he is. But first, please come in, eat some food. Come and like have your meal. And when you've had enough to eat and when you are full, we will bring you to him." And actually, at this time, where Milarepa was staying in this area of Tingri, Milarepa, through his omniscience, already knew that Gampopa was on his way to meet him. He already knew that Gampopa was coming.
되니 밖에 인제가 로에니 디제니 밀라레 집에도지다 이제 아니 밀라 집에도지기 배 원롱 맹아 분바 강적이 수도 나그래스 다 간지 누비기 템바 다소 개별적인 연애면나 찌대 다 감보발라 나그래스.
And so then he went to meet Milarepa, who was expecting him. And thereafter, Milarepa went on to transmit and give to him all of the empowerments, all of the transmissions, all of the oral instructions. Anibumpa.
분바 강철 저런다 용소데 나그래스. 가래 여바데. 자상.
And all of the entirety of the lineage teachings, everything that was contained within all of the transmissions, oral instructions, and teachings, empowerments of the lineage, Milarepa then gave to Gampopa.
다까지 감보바 구슬리기 누디지 주나 된지레스. 구슬기 루기 누디지 감보베 남다르 누디잖아.
And so then he received the entirety of all of the transmission, this lineage from Milarepa. And so if we look very briefly at a very brief introduction to the history of Gampopa,
아니
this is what is...
왕롱 맹아 차상 주네니다 양파게 위상철라 로데 페고레스 까나레스
Ani Gampope.
감보발라오.
And so then having received all of this, the Gampopa Utsala.
우상초를 배고래스. 그런 로든데 우상초를 요래스 송래스.
And so then he then went on to, having received all of this, said then, now, you can go to the area of Utsang, like this is in central Tibet.
아니 다 디제데니 타말라 양교로 담바랑즈데 당포 다 담바 차장나인 송레스 이주고에니 베 담바 나로치즈 디주디라 야 당에 타마데 캐날 담바지 난고 송레스
Milarepe.
밀레레베 아니 타마데 베 케트인도디가라 다 제트인도디가라 아니 밀레레바타 또고 곰게데 주주니게 베다 바기 두스 주주니게 굽드서 라고나진 착고 차대요라 상라라 그래 상라 라고 단 디그리 다 깨요 말해 오다 타마데 니베 밀라레반 두스 주니네 라고나지 차대요라 오다 디나진 캐난 준디제거레스 아니 템바는 로든지 준디제 아니 미망라 펜토주나 아니 캐난 디용그레 가서 새롭는 사람로 가서 두그레스 까나레스
Ani di korla ni drashe gyapna di korla drashe gyapna di gom gyapne di nangshin sundu.
곰갸네다 빼 가서 내가 먹고 전에 락바 탁고 차기도 와.
Oh lasso.
어떤
oh,
데
lasso.
차대.
Oh lasso. Di srapodo. And so then he received, finally when he supplicated for the teachings, he received in the final teachings the very fine and subtle teachings, such as the teachings on Prajna Paramita and wisdom, and then meditated, and he received instruction from Milarepa that said, if you meditate to the extent, for example, if we had rubbed our hands so that our fingers, like the skin was gone, like down to the bones, our skin had become so thin that if you, meditate in a way with such diligence, with such perseverance, as if you would rub your skin and the skin would all the way down, to become so thin till it was ready to just, come right off, then you will gain such, and these words came from Milarepa to Gampopa, said, meditate, habituate, persevere, be so diligent, and if so, you will gain accomplishment that you will be able to help and benefit so many others in the future. And not only that, this will be of benefit from lifetime after lifetime, generation after generation, and then this will assure that again we will meet again in lifetime after lifetime. And these were the instructions from Milarepa.
담에니 배 공기 땡다 감보바 타마 진라 배용도 갈라 다 키랑 아 마탱인 저기 애니 배 가르사 감보배 신지 젬바쟁 요래 애니 때던 땀치 이진르부 아 타르바리 무지겐 이진르부 니 따셔다 nga tu de chiba inzer sungre tamchu 이진르부 배자들 따데 배자들라 양양의 조삼제베이나 감보바 코난 잘래도 치바 인zer sungre
Oh lasso. Ani Gampope shinpep.
오 진 해갈라 어때 sungre.
And so when Gampopa, then Gampopa later on went on to compose this text, the Jewel Ornament of Liberation. And as on his deathbed, as Gampopa himself, the author, was dying, he said that in the future, if you read this text or hear teachings on this text and contemplate the meanings, then this will be exactly the same as meeting me face to face in the future after I am gone.
와다 두스레 되니 내가라다 배자되게 민달라 다 주자가래요서 되가라 이 아니 실증인도에 로와 실증인도라 에베던당 외생인서 등이요레스 등이가 되네요레스 대마체바 다 바게 유라마기 답에 시자자wen도 갈사 유람의 시자자wen 도타 ngala 참저지 ngala ngak 냠린지야 자게 첨비 냠린지야 니가 되는 생겨레스 뱀 중자 전부 차대요레스.
And so this very text actually fully contains both aspects of the Prajnaparamita sutras. Within the Prajnaparamita sutras, there are two aspects of that. One of those aspects is further elucidated in the Gyudlama, or the Tantra of the Sublime Continuum. Within the Tantra of the Sublime Continuum, there are the teachings of Tantra, wherein all of the teachings of Dzogchen, or the Great Perfection, Dzogchen Dang Chakchen, Chakchen Chikpo, of Mahamudra. So the teachings of Mahamudra and Tantra are within this Sutra of the Sublime Continuum. And actually both of those aspects, again, the Tantra and the Mahamudra, are contained within this text of the Jewel Ornament of Liberation.
제가 가차 세티가라 가담비 냠렌조 제양디가라 시징이 중라 또 냠렌 차려다 시징이 중제 아니 대가라 차기 전부 내용들가라 가자 추지 둥들니 가자 중쟁이가 찌둥들다 배 중자 전부 차버렸어.
So this has really become, this is a really sacred text, a very important and sacred text, because what we have here in this text are the coming together of these two lineages of practice. We had the Kadampa lineage, the Kadampa, path of practice, which is primarily based in the Prajnaparamita Sutra of the Kadampa aspect, and then we have the Mahamudra practice lineage, and both of those converge and come together, and those are both contained within this very text. So it's actually a very sacred, important text.
중 템베림바데양 오늘 가담베 중다 가담베 템림 첨모서 되어래 가담베 중지
Tendrim Shema.
템림 첨모 어때때다 중 템담베 템베림바데 찍고 찍경래 리니 땅부티 용해야 돼. 때마다 망쳐야지 리니 티그 말해야지. 니 리니 땅부티야. 중 템베림바데 가담베 베 템림단다고 해야지.
And so this is a text that was written in the tradition of the stages of the great stages of the teaching text of the Kadampa lineage, which is like a stages of the teachings scripture. And this is the first time that we see that all of these stages from this Kadampa path of practice has been written in stages. This is the first time that it occurs after that is in this very text, the Jewel Ornament of Liberation.
와다 리니 티용 거레스. 땅 리우 땅 보거나 리그 같이 거레스.
And the Liu Tampo.
요 리우 땅 보데. 리셰 용 거레스.
And Rick, Ri, Rick.
리즈나다 아까서래. 상기기리 가다라도 되라.
The family.
무대니저.
Ri.
어디세 용 거레스. 땅보니.
And so when we look at the first of these main stages that are within the stages of the teaching, we look at the first chapter of the Jewel Ornament of Liberation, and the first chapter of Jewel Ornament of Liberation is on Buddha nature.
다음 챈데라 담치 이진르부 탈바리 무지 겐 지자와 주소 승도 와스 선장데라 다 저상 담배취 세대 담취 담바면이 양다빠 풀도 중화 최면 주규 당야 주규 나란서 로 주규 당야라